1 year of marriage, and my husband has never once touched me. He's the aloof, reclusive CEO of a Fortune 500 medtech empire. I'm the youngest principal dancer at Riverdale National Ballet. Everyone calls us a match made in heaven. Only I know the woman he can't have still lives in his heart. His walk-in closet is always locked, hiding every last secret he owns. I've never dared to ask, afraid of what the answer might be. Until the day I signed the divorce papers and, without thinking, pushed that door open, the inside hung photographs of every performance I've ever given. And dozens of costumes meticulously altered, dignified necklines lowered into seductive ones, solemn silhouettes softened into something playful. Fabrics thinned until they'd make anyone blush. He stepped up behind me, arms banding around my waist, eyes blazing as though he could incinerate the papers in my hand. He smelled of whiskey, knuckles white around my wrist, voice so rough it felt like sandpaper. "That white moon woman," he rasped, "is you. It's always been you." I'm a ballerina. In the past year, I've danced countless performances and taken home 3 gold medals at international competitions. I've leapt from Riverdale to Vienna, crossed continents on tour, flown from cultural exchange to cultural exchange. Everyone says I'm a creature of career, born for the stage. But I know the truth. I've been using work as anesthesia because my husband doesn't love me. Exactly 1 year ago today, Margaret rang me bubbling with excitement. "Aria, remember the Sterlings? The old money family next door. Childhood betrothal. Well, the Sterling boy is finally back from abroad. Let's arrange dinner." I was in the middle of stretching at the bar, sweat plastering hair to my cheeks, and I almost burst out laughing at the words childhood betrothal. It's the 21st century. Who does that? Mom, I'm not. He used to be a trauma surgeon. Now he's taking over the family company. Legitimate MD, gorgeous face. Mom, you even told everyone you'd marry him when you were 5. Don't you remember? I rolled my eyes. Who remembers kindergarten vows? Still, I went. Because Margaret swore she'd disown me if I refused, and she meant it. I showed up late to the blind date. Not on purpose. Rehearsal ran long. No makeup, hair yanked into a messy ponytail. I dashed to the restaurant in my leotard and warm dash-ups. But the moment I shoved open the private room door, I froze. He sat by the window, jacket draped over the chair, snowy shirt sleeves rolled to the elbow. Long fingers curved around a teacup. He looked up at the sound of the door. His features were carved deep, high brow, straight bridge, eyes the color of a midwinter lake. But when those eyes met mine, they flared, not polite, not social. A crack of sunlight splitting black ice. My heart missed a beat. "Sorry I'm late," I said, pretending composure. "No problem," he answered, voice low, like a cello string plucked once. He poured me tea. Steady hand, not a drop spilled yet when he set the pot down. His fingers tightened for an instant. All evening he spoke easily with our parents, courteous, measured, a faint smile now and then as soft as March wind. But his gaze barely lingered on me. When it did, it flicked away as though burned. I felt a twinge of disappointment. 3 months later, we were married. A whirlwind, it felt like a dream. I didn't lift a finger. Performance schedules consumed me. Liam handled everything. On our wedding day, I discovered he'd booked the city's finest hotel, hired the most sought-after planner. Every detail rivaled a fairy tale. I stepped into the ballroom in my wedding gown and saw him waiting at the altar. He looked impossibly handsome, black tux, white shirt, hair immaculate. There was light in his eyes, brilliant, confusing light. Still, there'd been someone before me. Chase had done the digging. During Liam's years at medical school overseas, he'd loved a girl. They parted. He abandoned surgery, came home to helm Sterling MedTech. Chase relayed this with a curious note of hope. "Aria, what if he can't let her go?" I glanced at him. He was kneeling, tying my point ribbons, fingers moving as naturally as breathing, something he'd done for 5 seasons on stage. And if he can't? I replied, "We're already married." Chase lifted his head, eyes too bright. "Doesn't it bother you?" Would being bothered change anything? He was silent, then laughed softly, true. "You don't love him anyway." I blinked. "What makes you think I don't?" Wedding night. I sat on the bed, palms damp with nerves. He entered in lounge pants, hair towel dried, skin carrying the faint scent of pine soap. He walked over and knelt, then did something I never expected. He slipped off my wedding heels. His fingers brushed my ankle, cool skin, warm center. He cupped my foot and kneaded gently. "Long day on your feet," he murmured. "I'll loosen your calves," he offered. His pressure was exact medical. Almost yet I shut my eyes, lashes trembling. The room smelled of cedar and herbs of him. I waited for him to rise, to lean in, to his hands stilled. "Rest early," he said. Then he walked to the door. I watched his broad back, spine straight, every step measured. The door clicked shut. I spent the bridal night alone in a bed built for 2, hugging a mountain of unfamiliar sheets. After that I danced. Endless performances, endless rehearsals, endless tours. Stage lights swallowed my nights. Applause muted the noise inside me. Chase stayed close partner of 5 years, lifter of 1,000 catches. On stage we were 2 halves of one body. Off stage he warmed my knees, taped my ankles, inspected each pair of point shoes before curtain. I never read more into it. Partners take care of each other. "Aria, your timing's been off," he said one afternoon, handing me a cup of warm water after rehearsal, worry lining his eyes. "Just tired." I gulped the water. He hesitated, mouth forming unspoken words, then turned to stretch. I straddled the bar, swinging my legs, watching him. His extension lacked its usual ease. "Chase, you're holding something back." He paused. "Nope." "You're lying." He exhaled, faced me, gaze too intense. "Aria, does he treat you well?" I faltered. "He does." "Then why are you always sad?" I opened my mouth, no answer. "If he doesn't make you happy, if you're hurting, don't you think you deserve someone who'd kill to see you smile?" I laughed a little. "Chase, you sound like my father." He forced a chuckle, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just saying," he muttered, standing. "Come on, Tchaikovsky, Act 3, ready, always." He offered his hand, pulling me up. His palm was warm, calloused from half a decade of shared classes. I took his hand and stood up. "Thanks, partner." He looked at me, the corner of his mouth lifting. "Anytime, partner." We ran the pas de deux again and again on stage. When he lifted me, his palms were steady, his breathing even. We spun, leapt, landed to bodies, one pulse. After rehearsal, he tucked my point shoes into their bag and handed me my water bottle. "Aria, whatever happens, I'll be right here." He said it like it was the most natural truth in the world. "Because I'm your partner." I smiled. "I know." He smiled too. But there was something in that smile I couldn't read. Every performance, I receive a bouquet. Sometimes roses, sometimes lilies, sometimes wildflowers I can't name. Never a card, never a signature, but I know they're from him. Chase noticed once and teased, maybe he's finally over her. Everyone has a first love, right? My heart gave a sick little lurch. Because how could anyone guess that, almost a year into our marriage, we still haven't slept together? He treats me so well. The housekeeper, the meal plans, even dropping my costumes at the dry cleaner. He arranges everything, but he never touches me. If we pass in the hall, he'll ask, "Tired?" Did you eat? Need water? Gentle voice, perfect manners like an ideal roommate, nothing more. I started to wonder if he'd married me only to satisfy our parents. An old promise, a corporate merger, a neat match on paper, principal dancer, CEO. It sounds romantic, but he doesn't love me. He doesn't love me, so he walked out on our wedding night. He doesn't love me, so he can live under the same roof and look straight through me. I don't want to trap him anymore. I printed the divorce papers, signed them, and slid them into my bag. After the show that night, I didn't call him. I'd wait until I got home, hand him the papers, and move out, clean cut, no delays. When I pulled in, his car wasn't in the garage. He hadn't come back. In the whole year of marriage, he'd never stayed out overnight. However late, he always returned, even if only to sleep in the room next door. Tonight was the first time he HID and single quotes T.fine. I unlocked the door, slipped off my shoes, stepped inside. The house was quiet, lights off, pitch black. I groped my way upstairs, and when I passed his walk-in closet, the door stood a crack open. I stopped. He never let me inside that closet. It stayed shut, locked like the door to his heart. Every time I walked past, I checked. Shut, always shut. But tonight it was open. He wasn't home, yet the door was open. Had he simply forgotten? I stood there, and some impulsive force lifted my hand and pushed. The door swung wide. I already knew what should be inside. Photos, letters, gifts, everything that proved another woman existed. Chase had mentioned once, offhand, my brother-in-law's ex was apparently gorgeous. He kept a ton of her stuff. He'd sounded casual, but I'd felt him watching for my reaction. I'd never asked. I was afraid of the answer, and even more afraid of the evidence. But tonight the door was open. I stepped inside, the light was on, and I saw my costumes. Not exactly mine anymore, because every piece had been altered. The one in front was my Swan Lake tutu from last year. It used to be a chaste white swan neckline. Now the plunge was deeper, the waist nipped tighter, the skirt fringed so it fluttered with every step, like a real swan but sensuous. Beside it hung my Giselle dress, once plain white and solemn. Now a ribbon of lace trimmed the neckline, a satin bow cinched the waist, and scattered sequins glittered over the skirt like tiny stars. Solemn, but sweetly tempting, there were more rows of them. Every costume changed, every one. Well, the kind of thing that made you blush if you stared too long. I touched the fabric and yanked my fingers back as it burned. The cloth so thin it was almost nothing. What was this? Had I walked into the wrong room? Was I dreaming? This was the walk-in closet of my cold, celibate husband who hadn't touched me in a year. I stood frozen, mind white static, a sound behind me. I spun. He stood in the doorway, 2 shirt buttons undone, sleeves rolled up, hair mussed. Drunk, eyes bloodshot. His gaze dropped to my hand. I was still clutching the divorce papers. His expression cracked. He walked forward, 1 step at a time. I backed up until the wardrobe bit into my spine. He stared down at me, alcohol thick on his breath. "Aria," he rasped, voice like gravel. "You want a divorce?" Answer me. He snatched the papers, crushing them in his fist. "You want a divorce?" His hand shook. "Do you have any idea, lower, rougher, how long I've waited for you?" I froze. "Do you have any idea?" He threw the wad aside and braced his hands on the closet walls, caging me, "what I gave up for you." His eyes were red not from drink, but from something held back too long. "You said you didn't like me." His voice cracked. "Fine. You said you had to dance. I waited. You wanted performances. I watched. You wanted to be principal." He dropped his forehead to my shoulder. "Aria, do you even have a heart?" His shoulders shook. I stood like lightning had struck me. Are Are you in love with me? I breathed. His head snapped up, eyes wet raw like an abandoned dog. Arya, he croaked, I'm your husband. I know you don't. He cut me off. You don't know anything. He brushed my cheek with burning fingertips. You have no idea how long I've waited. Then he kissed me, tasting of whiskey, tasting of tears, tasting of every night 1 year, 3 years. Who knows how many of swallowing one. It was a fierce kiss, starving. His hand locked behind my head so I couldn't escape. I closed my eyes, tears slipped down my cheeks. Not tears of sorrow. When I woke the next morning, I was in bed. The pillow beside me was empty, covers tucked tight like it had all been a dream. I touched my lips, swollen, tender, not a dream. I glanced at my neck, red marks, unmistakable little bruises. I yanked the quilt over my head, cheeks on fire. Jerk. At the theater, Chase was at the bar, stretching. He took one look at me, gaze flicking to my throat. I clutched my collar, mosquito. He lowered his eyes, hands clamped on the bar so hard his knuckles went white. During break, he pulled me into the dressing room and shut the door. Head down, shoulders shaking. Arya, I need to tell you something. What? He dragged in air. I'm in love with you. He looked up, eyes bloodshot. I stared at him. My partner for 5 years. We've danced every duet. He's lifted me 1,000 times, laced my ribbons, carried me to the hospital when I sprained my ankle, poured my whiskey when I failed an audition, massaged my calves when I was too tired to move. I knew he was good to me, but I hadn't realized that good carried this meaning. Chase, I said, I'm sorry. Chase stood there without moving. So his voice came at hoarse, I'm too late. It's not a question of late or not, I said. It's that you never had a chance. The rehearsal studio stayed silent for a long while. I thought he would leave. But he smiled. Arya, do you know what your biggest problem is? He slid his hands into his pockets and leaned against the locker, posture lazy. You trust your own feelings too much. What do you mean? You think he likes you. He tilted his head, a faint smile on his lips. He hasn't touched you once in a year of marriage, and you call that like? You've slept alone for a year, and you call that like? He checks into a hotel room at midnight, and you still call that like? I froze. How do you know he went to a hotel? I saw him last night. He said it casually, as if it were trivial. Alone, dead drunk, the receptionist had to help him upstairs. He paused and looked at me. Guess whose name he was calling? Something clenched in my chest, but I didn't ask. You're not the least bit curious, no, liar. He took a step closer. His eyes were bright, dangerously bright. Arya, you can't fool me. I've been watching you for 5 years. I retreated 1 step and felt the mirror cold against my back. Chase, I like you. He said it outright, no warm-up, no hesitation. I liked you the very first day. When you danced Odette in a white tutu, I liked you. When you twisted your ankle and cried on the floor, I liked you. When you walked out in your wedding gown, his voice dropped. I still liked you. He stretched out an arm, palm flat against the mirror behind me, caging me in. Arya, he'll never make you happy. He doesn't even dare to touch you, can't even say he loves you, but I can. Chase, move, no? Quiet, yet unshakable. I've stepped aside for 5 years. Every time you told me I'm married, I stepped aside. Every time you said he treats me well, I stepped aside. Every time you stared at the flowers he sent, I stepped aside. But now you're filing for divorce. You drafted the papers. You don't want to stay with him any longer. I haven't, you have. He cut me off. The divorce papers are in your bag. I saw them. I stiffened. You went through my bag. Your zipper was open. I closed it for you. Saw them by accident. He paused. Arya, what are you waiting for? You've already decided. He reached out, trying to take my hand. Come away with me. I'll take you out of here. You dance, I'll stay by your side. Wherever you want to perform, I'll follow. You won't have to guess what I'm thinking. I'll tell you everything. You won't have to wait a year. I won't make you wait a single day. His fingertips brushed mine. Arya, the door swung open. Liam stood in the doorway. His gaze flicked over Chase's hand braced against the mirror, then to me pinned between his arm and the glass. He walked in slow, measured steps, each one carrying unmistakable authority. Chase's hand stayed on the mirror. Morgan, he said, turning his head with a smile. Fancy seeing you here. There was no fear in that smile-only challenge. Liam stopped in front of him. Half a head taller, he looked down the way a man accustomed to power surveys a presumptuous child move. Chase didn't budge. Morgan, Arya, and I are talking. I said move. Quiet words, each one a nail, not a request, not a warning, a command. Chase's smile faltered, yet he held his ground. Morgan, aren't you overstepping? You haven't touched her for a year, and now you remember you're her husband. The studio air turned to stone. Liam took my hand large, warm. Engulfing mine, then looked down at me. Arya, he said, voice low, steady. Do you want him to move? I blinked. Say one word, he murmured, eyes locked on mine. He's gone. Chase's face changed. Arya, shut up. Liam still didn't look at him. The tone was flat, as if brushing off a fly. I'm asking my wife. His thumb brushed the back of my hand. Say it. I stared into his eyes, black, fathomless like a midwinter lake, yet something surged beneath the surface. Move, I said, quiet, distinct. Chase's hand dropped from the mirror. He stepped back, disbelief flooding his eyes. Arya. Sorry, Chase. I moved closer to Liam. His grip tightened. I tried. I can't help it. Can't help what? Can't stop liking him. Chase stood there, then laughed, not bitter, but the laugh of a man who knows he's lost. All right. He slid his hands into his pockets and stepped back. You win, Morgan. Liam said nothing. His thumb kept brushing my hand. Chase turned to leave, pausing at the door. Arya, if one day, there won't be a day. Liam's voice drifted down, low, heavy. That's certain, certain. Liam drew me closer. Chase lingered 2 seconds, then pushed the door and was gone. Only the two of us remained. Liam let go of my hand and stepped back, studying me, ears flushed. Double quotes Liam. Those things you said last night, were they true? What things? That you waited for me. A long time. He was silent. Not long. He said finally, 3 years, 3 years, 3 years. And for months. He paused. Starting from the first time you danced Swan Lake. I stared. You know when that was? I know. His voice softened. It was the first time you saw me, only you don't remember. I looked up at him. His eyes were black, deep as a winter lake, but beneath the lake there was light, bright, blazing. Arya, he murmured, it's fine if you don't remember me. I remember you. Have we met before? He didn't answer. He only bent and pressed his face into my hair. When will you finally remember? He whispered, as if to himself. That evening he took me to his mother's for dinner. Her mansion was vast on old Riverdale estate overflowing with flowers. She was warmth itself, holding my hand, chatting all afternoon. "Arya, you used to play here as a child, don't you recall?" I smiled awkwardly. I'm afraid childhood memories are fuzzy. "Then do you remember vowing you'd marry our Zachary?" My cheeks burned. "Mrs. Sterling, that was childish nonsense. Call me Mom." She beamed. "You followed him everywhere. He found you annoying and pushed you into a mud puddle." I blinked. "Later he sobbed his heart out, hugging you," she laughed. "After that, he never pushed you away again." I turned to Liam. He sat sipping tea, expression neutral, ears crimson. "You shoved me into a mud puddle." "No recollection." He took another sip. "You were kind of a brat when you were little, yeah." He set his teacup down and looked at me. "So now you can get even. How?" "Hit me, yell at me, anything." He paused. "Just don't divorce me." His mom laughed so hard her sides hurt. After dinner, I went to the bathroom. On my way back, I took a wrong turn and stumbled into a study. Photos covered the wall. One showed Eleanor when she was young, another Liam as a boy. Plus medical diagrams I didn't understand. My gaze moved to the bookshelf. Most volumes were medical, but on the top shelf a single frame lay face down. I rose on tiptoe, lifted it, turned it over a photograph. A group in white coats and hazmat suits, masks on, stood outside a hospital. Behind them hung a banner that read "Flu Response Volunteers." In the corner stood a girl. She wore protective gear, only her eyes visible. They were bright as stars. I recognized those eyes. They were mine. My hands started to shake. Under the photo lay a slip of paper. Arya. 6 from left, 3rd row. The one who danced Swan Lake. Dated 3 years ago. 3 years and 4 months, to be exact. Footsteps sounded behind me. I turned. Liam stood in the doorway. When he saw the photo in my hands, his expression shifted. When did you, the first night you danced Swan Lake?" he said quietly. "You stepped off stage in a white tutu, hair in a bun. While you bowed, I was in the audience." His eyes reddened. "You don't remember, but I do." I stared at the photo, something inside me cracking loose. 3 years ago, the flu, volunteers, I'd still been at the academy. Sent to the hospital as a flu response volunteer, all day in a plastic suit and mask, running errands. One day in the corridor I met a doctor, young, bright eyes, gorgeous smile. He taught me to suit up, to scrub, how to speak to patients. He said, "You dance beautifully. I caught your show." I asked, "Dylan, what's your name?" He answered, "My last name is Sterling." Then nothing. They transferred me to another ward that same day. We never met again until the blind date afternoon. Until he poured me tea by the window. "That doctor was you." He said nothing. "Why didn't you tell me?" "You didn't remember." His voice was soft. "You looked at me like I was a stranger. So you stayed quiet?" "What difference would it have made?" He gave a bitter smile. "You didn't even keep my name. I said Sterling. You said, 'Oh, Riley,' and walked off." My nose stung. "I looked for you later," he said. "But you'd graduated and moved to Riverdale." "I couldn't find you." He lowered his head. "Then I heard you dance Swan Lake at the National Theater, and I went. You were the white swan. I was in the 3rd row." He lifted his gaze to me. "You bowed on stage. I was right there. You don't remember, but I do." It came back. After that performance, I'd received a bouquet, no card, no sender, only white gardenias. I thought they'd been delivered by mistake. The flowers were from you, Every show after that, me. He hesitated. Every single one. Tears slid down my cheeks. Why didn't you ever say? What good would earlier have done? His voice was barely a whisper. You were busy, brilliant, adored. I stood in the dark and didn't even dare send flowers with my name. You gave up medicine and took over the family firm for. He was silent a long while. 3 years ago, I was paging through volunteer rosters and saw your name. He spoke low. Aria, Dance Academy, 21. The address you listed was the same complex where one of my father's partners lived. Do you know what that meant? He laughed bitterly. The girl I'd crushed on for 3 years was my parents' old friend's daughter. One word from me and they'd arrange everything. Then why didn't you say it? Because I wasn't worthy. His voice was soft. Back then I was nothing, just a new resident. No house, no car, hand injured. He stretched out his right hand, palm up. A pale pink scar ran from the base of his thumb to his wrist. Car wreck, he said. Rear-ended the car in front, dotted, braked hard. I was distracted. Why were you distracted? He didn't reply, but I knew. That year I toured the BORDRLANDS. Mudslide. The news ran for days. Know how crazy the timing was. A strange smile tugged at his lips. I happened to be on leave, happened to catch your show on the news, happened to see the landslide alert. His voice sank. I called you 30+ times. Couldn't get through. My heart twisted. So I drove. I froze. You went? 6 hours, he said. Roads were closed when I arrived. I waited outside the barrier 3 days. He held my gaze. On the 4th day you emerged sitting in the back of an army truck, face bruised, hair a mess, but alive. His eyes glistened. I stood by the roadside as your truck passed. You didn't see me. My tears fell. After that, I went back to the hospital and found I couldn't operate anymore. He stared at his right hand. It shook too much to hold a scalpel. He curled and uncurled his fingers. I sat on the hospital rooftop for hours, wondering what I could still do, whether I still deserved to stand beside you. He lifted his eyes. Then Dad came, said the family company needed an heir. If I agreed, he'd help. Help with what? Help me when you... He dropped his gaze. So I said yes. Took the firm, expanded it until it was big enough to deserve you. Shifted the focus to smart medical tech, surgical robots, telesurgery platforms. He raised his head. That way, I didn't totally abandon medicine. I stood sobbing. So why didn't you ever tell me? Aria, I didn't want you to feel pressured. Didn't want gratitude or guilt keeping you with me. I wanted you to like me for me, not for what I did. He brushed the tears from my cheeks. Then why say it now? He hesitated. Because you're filing for divorce. His voice was almost inaudible. I was afraid if I waited any longer, there'd be no time left. I rose on tiptoe and hugged him. Liam, You really are, An idiot. His body went rigid. What about our wedding night? I asked, shy and anxious. Why didn't you touch me? He looked at me, eyes suddenly gentle. Because you were exhausted. What? You'd stood in the studio all day. Your feet were swollen. Your back hurt. You could barely walk. My heart ached just watching you. He wiped my tears again. I thought we had our whole lives. One night didn't matter. And then you stayed busy. He sounded aggrieved. I waited for the tour to end, for you to rest, for a free evening, but you never stopped. He paused. I kept telling myself, put your wife's career first. She's extraordinary, I can't be petty. So I kept putting it off and off. I rose on tiptoe and kissed him. He froze. Liam, I said, no more secrets. Tell me everything from now on, okay? He looked at me, eyes reddening. Okay. Then he lowered his head and kissed me. Not fierce, not tasting of alcohol. Featherlight, as if I might shatter. That night we sat on the study floor, flipping through photographs. He showed me his collection, every program, every bouquet, every altered costume. This one, he said, pointing to a pale blue tutu. You wore for Giselle. I lowered the neckline. The original was too demure. This one, indicating a white dress, you wore for Swan Lake. I added an extra layer of tulle. The hem was too short. And this, his voice dropped, you wore for Carmen. I thought, what did you think? His ears flushed. What did it feel like, altering my costumes? He stayed silent. Embarrassing. His ears burned brighter. Yeah. Then why keep doing it? I wanted you to look stunning, he said after a beat, but I didn't want anyone else looking. I laughed. And now? Still don't want anyone looking. He considered. I do, he said. Because you're the most beautiful when you dance. My nose stung. I leaned my head on his shoulder. Liam, HMM? I think I'm starting to remember. Remember what? You. His body tensed. In the hospital you taught me to gown up double gloves, pinched the nose piece on the mask. You even said, I lifted my eyes to his. You said, you look beautiful when you dance. His eyes watered. You remember, I smiled. I do, Riley. He buried his face in the curve of my neck. His shoulders shook. I held him, patting his back the way he'd once shown me to smooth sterile gloves. Sorry, I whispered, for making you wait so long. He said nothing, just held me tighter. That night he didn't return to his own room. We lay in one bed, his hand wrapped around mine. His chest against my back, his breathing rose and fell like gentle surf. Liam, HMM. Did you used to hate me? Never. Then why did you push me into the mud? A pause. Because you were too cute. What? You chased me with those two little braids. Eyes curved when you laughed. I was afraid you'd fall. Afraid you'd run too fast. Pushing you was the only way to stop you. Then why did you cry? Afterward? Because I pushed you, he murmured. You landed in the mud and didn't cry. I did. I rolled over to face him. His eyes were bright as stars. Liam, you're seriously weird? Yeah. But I really like that. He blinked, then smiled a thawing of winter. A sudden spring, he bent and kissed me, slow and careful, as though I might break. I closed my eyes. His lashes brushed my cheek. Ticklish, Arya, he whispered. No more divorce. Okay, no more ignoring me. Okay, no more forgetting me. I opened my eyes and met his gaze. Never again, I said. He smiled. Moonlight poured through the window, silver white, bathing us in light. Later, Chase told me he'd seen it coming all along. Arya, you two are perfect, he said, stretching at the bar. One pines for 3 years without a word. The other marries for a year without asking. Then why'd you confess that day? I shot him a glare. He chuckled sheepishly. Had to try, you know. In case what? In case you guys didn't work out. I'd be happy to pick up the pieces. Seriously, don't be mad, he said quickly. Just kidding. Besides, the look your husband gave me that night could kill. No way I dare. He sighed. I serious, Arya. He's a good man. Treat him well. I smiled. I will. After that evening's performance, I received another bouquet. Not roses. Not lilies - gardenias - tiny white blooms. Intensely fragrant. Tucked inside was a card. Aria. Third row. 6th seat. The Swan Lake one. You're Riley. Backstage, I hugged the flowers and laughed for a long time. Then I texted him, Riley, dinner at home tonight? Instant reply, coming. What do you want to eat? You? I flushed. Be serious. Sweet and sour fish. Then, made by you. Do not wait for me. Always, however long it takes. I tucked the phone away. Still smiling. The lighting crew called for me. Chase hurried me to change. The audience applauded, crushing the gardenias to my chest. I inhaled their perfume sweet, heady, 3 years and 4 months. That's how long he waited. From now on, I'll be the one waiting. One night Liam worked late in the study while Aria curled on the sofa, flipping through an old journal. Liam, the south wind knows my heart. Is that what your name means? Yeah. Who chose it? Me. She turned a page and laughed. Your handwriting was this awful. Liam OS. It's cursive. Not ugly, but husband code rule 1. Never contradict your wife. His pen paused. That was 3 years ago. Pretty much the same now. Did you ever think, she asked, pointing to a line, Aria, when will you finally know? When you wrote this, did you consider I might never find out? Liam was quiet. I did. What would you have done? Kept writing. For life. Aria blinked, then smiled. She flipped to the last page, borrowed his pen, and scribbled something. Holding the journal up, now I know. Dummy. Double quotes. His ears turned crimson. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, please like and share with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.